reality he sees. Mine was here, 11 years ago. I had a 6-year-old die in my arms. It still wakes me up some nights. She'd be about 17 today if her mother had her wear her safety belt. Safety belts can save more than 16,000 lives each year. In all those 11 years, I've never once unbuckled a dead man.
One of the things I discovered when I became a Girl Scout leader was how important my skills and knowledge really are. Working in partnership with girls gives me the opportunity to share what I've learned with someone who needs to know. And it's helped me discover talents I never even knew I had. Girl Scouting helps girls and adults find new worlds together. You could find a new world for yourself and make a world of difference to a girl. To join us, call your local Girl Scout Council and volunteer.
Baseball.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Schatz, and this is the latest from the News Channel. There has been a dramatic turn of events in the Challenger's mission. CNN science editor Charles Crawford and astronaut Sherwood Spring are here with an update. Gentlemen?
Indeed, Steve, there has been a dramatic event, and that is the attempt to rendezvous and capture the satellite Solar Max has been unsuccessful, the first attempt. That's the bad news. The good news is there are options, and Woody, why don't we talk about what those options are, and perhaps we can see some earlier television from space that began about 45 minutes ago with Nelson on his way over to the Solar Max satellite. As soon as we see that, we can explain exactly what the problem was, what they encountered, and what the options that are being considered on the ground now.
All right.
You've just got off the phone with Mission Control. What did they tell us?
Well, they really weren't able to say much. The obvious point was stated that we didn't make a dock. We're not exactly sure why. For some reason, the T-pad did not fire, did not get a good soft dock on
the T-pad is the coupling device.
Trunnion pin attach device.
Nelson has on the front of his space suit, and he has to successfully put that T-pad into a cylindrical affair on the Solar Max in order to stabilize it.
He's literally trying to almost thread a needle with it. He has got a little hole in the trunnion pin, and he has to insert that over the stub that's on the Solar Max.
You can see Dr. Nelson at the bottom of your screen, just barely, in the free space fly with his jet-powered backpack on his way over to Solar Max, the crippled satellite. Now, that satellite you can clearly see is rotating, and that's the problem. You have to stop that satellite from rotating before it can be brought aboard the Challenger.
True, and it looks like in our attempts to stop it, we may have imparted somewhat of a tumble mode to it as well. After the soft dock did not work, they recommended you go out to the end of the solar sail there and try to stabilize it with that. And that's a good idea, and it may have worked, but the center of mass of that satellite is lower than that sail, so by holding it at that point, we then started a little bit of a tumble mode.
And in this instance, with momentum already in effect on the satellite, it's perhaps we can liken it to a 5,500-pound object trying to be stopped by a 700-pound with all of his equipment on. That's by Nelson, which is a pretty difficult thing to do, I suppose.
Well, it is. It is.
Now, what are the options? How may they still capture that satellite and bring it aboard the...
Well, the reason Pinky had to stop at this point was because he was running low on fuel, and we don't want to run out of fuel there. Otherwise, we've got a really big three-body problem.
You can see the thrusters fire here. Excuse me for interrupting.
I think those are position lights. There's 3 position lights, one on either side, and then square in the back. The thrusters will just be firing a cold nitrogen gas, and it's not really a firing. It's just squirting out or hosing out some of the gas.
This is Nelson earlier today, about 45 minutes ago, as he left the cargo bay on his way over to the satellite Solar Max.
So what we're doing now is we'll probably either recharge this first man maneuvering unit, or we can go ahead and use the second man maneuvering unit. It'll be about an equal amount of time. They're also rechecking that trunnion pin attach device, the T-pad, if you will, and make sure, you know, last time we were beating on Bruce McCandless's head to get his television camera to work. We probably might use a little wrench therapy on this. I'm not sure. But we're going to make sure everything is mechanically ready to go, and all the switches are just perfectly ready to go again, and probably attempt another dock.
Roger, copy that, Crip.
We should talk about the other option that Commander Crippen has if they are unsuccessful in rendezvousing and attaching with Nelson's backpack. Crippen himself, and explain this if you would for us, Woody, what can he do with the space shuttle to perhaps make the rendezvous?
Well, Crip, as the mission commander, will make the decisions in conjunction with our management on the ground. Now, Crip has the option of saying, why don't we go ahead and try it with the remote arm? There is a rotation. There is probably a slight tumble mode going on right now, but the rates are still pretty low. That arm is a very capable device, and T.J. Hart has practiced. This is another one of the options. He has practiced to go in and dock with a rotating and slightly tumbling satellite as well. So Crip may opt to go within about 30 feet of that satellite and use the remote arm and its capabilities to try to pick it up directly.
Again, you're looking at Dr. George Nelson at the top of your screen. As he earlier this morning, just about 45 minutes ago, began his space fly over to the crippled satellite Solar Max. And again, that first attempt to rendezvous with the Solar Max has been unsuccessful. We don't know exactly the reason, but for some reason he was unable to make the coupling with that T-pad device on the front of his spacesuit and the trunnion pin on the Solar Max.
True. Well, the rendezvous was good. It's just the docking was bad. The docking was unsuccessful.
And as you mentioned, Woody, he also made an attempt to physically, by grabbing a hold of with his hand, the solar array panel to actually physically stop the rotation, and that apparently was unsuccessful.
Yes, I'm not sure whether that is what imparted a slight additional moment to the satellite, or whether it was just hitting that trunnion pin from a slightly off angle. We're not sure.
But in any event, after two attempts to stop the rotation, one with the coupling device and then by hand, he by that time had run out of fuel in his thrusters. In his
well, he'd used up about half of his fuel, and one of the last things you want to do is go off almost literally half-cocked and cause more problems than you currently have. So prudence took effect at this point, and we brought him back into the payload bay. Said, let's just drop back, think it over, and then do something correctly rather than guessing ourselves into a bigger problem. For example, if George had run out of fuel, at the same time the satellite was maneuvering, or still rotating around, that means the orbiter couldn't get too close and would probably have had to put ox in the man maneuvering unit to go get Pinky. And we just don't want to get in that situation. So while he still had about half the fuel remaining, we brought him back, and we'll think through what we really want to do next.
Dr. Nelson at the bottom right-hand portion of your screen, making his space maneuver, firing those jets on the backpack as he approaches Solar Max, the crippled sun-watching satellite, which was launched 4 years ago, 1980.
On Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day. And it was at a cost of $77 million, and the whole purpose of this mission is to recover that spacecraft, that Solar Max, which would, I guess, potentially be a savings of $200 million.
Potentially. If we had to rebuy it and remanufacture it and then relaunch it, it would cost us about $275 million or so today.
And we'll continue our live extended coverage of the flight of Challenger. We'll have next live pictures in about an hour around noon. Steve.
Charles and Woody, just a question. How soon might that next docking attempt be made?
I would guess probably 30 to 45 minutes or so, maybe as long as an hour. They'll either have to recharge or add more nitrogen to this manned maneuvering unit or use the other one. In either case, it's going to take about a half an hour. The charge doesn't take that long, but he has to get out of the manned maneuvering unit, hook up some lines and cables, throw a few switches to get the nitrogen flowing back into it.
And we'll be covering that live.
We certainly will.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Well, that's the news to this hour, the news from space. Not all good, not all bad. I'm Steve Schatz. I'll be back with an update at the top of the hour. Stay tuned now for Your Money. That's coming up next here on the News Channel.
They were no more than boys who dreamed of adventure in a war that would be over in weeks. But that was before Bull Run, Shiloh, Antietam, and Gettysburg. The Civil War. Now, Time Life Books recreates the sweeping drama of the blue and the gray in a magnificent new series. You'll meet the real U.S. Grant. Lincoln called him the only general who wasn't afraid to fight, drunk or sober. Rose Greenhow, the belle of Washington society who was secretly a Confederate spy. Stonewall Jackson, Lee's most brilliant general, who in a bizarre twist of fate would be shot by his own soldiers. Battle by battle, you'll witness an America at war with itself. Every volume is filled with rare photographs, historic art and maps, and the close-up detail that only Time Life books can bring you. Call now toll-free to receive your first volume, Brother Against Brother. It's yours to examine free for 10 days in this special television offer. If you keep it, you'll receive other volumes, one about every other month. Keep only the books you want, cancel at any time. Now, after more than a century, you can experience their true story, the Civil War.
To order, call 1-800-257-1257 to examine Brother Against Brother free for 10 days as your introduction to the Civil War. If you like it, pay just $12.95 plus shipping and handling. Other volumes will follow, one approximately every other month. Keep only the books you want, cancel anytime. Write or call 1-800-257-1257. 1-800-257-1257.
The following is a presentation of CNN Business News.